Hello everyone, this is Fable. Today I'm going to be talking about The Journey Down. Be warned, there will be spoilers. You have 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's get started. First off, don't know what The Journey Down is? I don't blame you. Apparently no one does. I discovered this game way back in high school on the Apple iPad and was like, hey, that game seems kinda cool. So I downloaded it, or bought it, I don't remember if it was free or not. Anyways, I really liked it, and I was like, cool, can't wait to play Chapter 2. Unfortunately, Chapter 2 came out long after I played Chapter 1, so I never got around to playing it until about 2 months before Chapter 3 came out, and then Chapter 3 came out, and I didn't get around to playing it until just now. I'm really bad at playing these games on time, apparently. Enough about that, let's talk about the game. The Journey Down is a point-and-click adventure game centered around a bunch of weird-looking characters who have to solve mysteries, sort of. At the start of Chapter 1, you get this neat cinematic where these 2 mobster-looking guys break into a university room and are like, uh-oh, boss, they're not here. And he's like, but they should be there. And they're like, oh, well, they're not. Anyways, we found a lead. It says Gas and Charter. He's like, the fuck's a Gas and Charter? Get my book. Also kill whoever has it. And thus the game begins. This is when you take control of the lovable goofball Bwana. Bwana may act like a total doofus, but he's apparently deceptively clever, seeing as he gets out of all of these wacky and dangerous situations with little struggle. That being said, Bwana is having electrical problems, so he decides he shouldn't be the only one to suffer and turns the power off to the whole city. But then decides that's a bit drastic and turns it back on. Lo and behold, the power to his Gas and Charter business comes back on, and he's good to go. Keto, his mechanic brother, mans the pumps and meets Lena, a university student, I think. She asks him about a book, but Keto says, this isn't a bookstore, this is a gas station. But Bwana rolls in and tells our lady friend that books are now on the menu because when you need money, you need money. After a bit of problem solving, you make it into the loft to find the book, and then Lena calls up her professors, who tell her that the big bad mafia guys are gunning for her now. She seems to find this a pretty non-important issue, and claims to have it under control. She asks Mr. Bwana if he can get the plane going. He says sure. Keto says, are you dumb? To which Bwana tells him to shut up and get to work. Now Bwana is on the hunt for airplane parts. He collects a bunch of parts, kills a bird, and blinds some poor woman who's welding things, and comes back to Keto with all of his newly looted scrap. But wouldn't you know it, another part of the plane is broken, so Bwana has to fix that. He fixes that. All of a sudden the mobsters arrive. Which, can I just say, why did it take so long for them to get here? Is there more than one Gas and Charter they had to check? If so, did they take the same approach of just opening fire on everyone they saw in association with that Gas and Charter? Whatever. They make a speedy getaway in the plane, but unfortunately, they forgot to put gas in it, so they go spiraling down into the deep dark abyss. And that's the end of the first game. A few notes. This game has an incredible soundtrack and some really good artwork. Let's take a moment to appreciate the artwork with some soundtrack in the background. Enjoy! Alright, let's move on to Chapter 2. Chapter 2 has us starting out at the bottom of the ocean. But we don't get to see that part. So we see our characters get pulled up by some netting and they end up aboard the Biko, a ship used for catching eel. Eel is apparently quite useful in this world and is used for food, alcohol, and tea. The Biko is currently stranded due to a lighthouse that is not functioning. Unfortunately, the lighthouse is currently out of reach, so we can't just fix it. But our friend John has a solution. His solution? Getting our bearings. So, B'wana takes a screwdriver, wastes some electricity, and steals a navigation book, and all of a sudden, they're at port. Port R2 to be exact. However, the local sheriff heard about what B'wana did to that pelican and arrested him as soon as he entered the area, leaving B'wana in jail with Kito, both of whom are now separated from Lena. B'wana and Kito escape prison, and B'wana is left to roam the streets in his striped pajamas. He gets flirted with a bit, but leaves with only a box of matches and a phone number to a club instead of a nice lady. He also decides he needs some new clothes, so he helps out his local back alley scammers by building them a barrel fire that will likely burn for about 2 minutes, since all he used was newspaper to fuel it. After this, he takes it upon himself to fix the lighthouse by screwing the rich and stealing their lamp. B'wana is a master thief after all. Now you might be asking, why did B'wana fix the lighthouse? Well, apparently B'wana is omniscient and knew that by fixing the lighthouse he would cause this bartender to leave his bar, giving B'wana free access to the food shaft, which just so happens to lead straight to the VIP room of Club Timba, where Lena is currently located. B'wana arrives in the VIP room and promptly gets thrown out, but at least he managed to get a lead on his missing father, Cal Nondodo. He decides Lena is not worth his time and proceeds to dig into this information, which leads him to an Armando mining building. He makes his very own girder, and then finds Lena conveniently hanging out in the building's office. I'm not really sure how she got there, to be honest. Anyways, they find the file they were looking for and promptly leave to try and steal back the book that the Club Timba people stole from them. Lena, surprisingly, begins the setup they need to steal the book back, while B'wana goes to find his brother and, more importantly, the plane. Before he finds his brother, however, he becomes the love doctor and helps a lonely sailor find true love with the ever-lovely Andiswa, the secretary who was flirting with us earlier. After that, he gets his brother out the scrapyard, and then he returns to Lena, who hacks into an elevator, and B'wana begins his thieving of the book. To do this, he gives a security guard some adult entertainment to distract him from the camera and breaks into the vault from the outside. He then takes the book, sets off an alarm, and just straight up kills himself. But he survives, and he makes a mad dash for the plane. He gets to the plane, and after a noble sacrifice from the corrupt cop, they get away and go to Hatari Reef. Here, B'wana does a little more puzzle solving. Seriously, this puzzle was really confusing. And they enter the Underland. A couple notes about this game. Again, great artwork and sound design. This game was definitely harder puzzle-wise than the first one. That might just be because I've played the first one so many times, though. Like, seriously, that last puzzle I actually had to look up, like on Google. That was the only puzzle throughout this whole thing that I had to look up. Anyways, let's take some time to again appreciate some artwork and listen to my favorite piece from the soundtrack. This third one starts us out with a pretty expensive looking intro, and then we end up in a cool cave. Bwana does not follow instructions and almost gets his brother torched, along with the rest of them, since lava was apparently beginning to rise in the cave. They take flight in a fungi hot air balloon, and promptly get shot out of the sky by none other than... dun dun dun... the Armando Mining Company. That is opposed to the Armando Power Company. After taking a relaxing tumble into a different, conveniently abandoned mining zone, Bwana proceeds to find Armando's evil plans and fixes a generator, providing them a quick way back to San Armando, so he can deliver their newly acquired bad guy plans to Lena's old Professor Moorhead. But Bwana and Kido immediately get busted by a group of resistance metalheads, who by some divine happenstance, Bwana and Kido happen to know the leader of. Bwana sets off to find Professor Moorhead, running into some old friends along the way and getting free juice. He blows out a poor cameraman's ears in order to speak with this reporter lady and get her to join his cause. She is not exactly accepted into the cause, however, and leaves quite quickly. After this, Bwana heads to the university to continue his research for Professor Moorhead. Obviously, he is not here, and Bwana learns he was kidnapped by the Bozzi brothers. Bwana heads downtown and gets propositioned by an interesting lady. He then blows up a laundromat in order to scare off the Bozzi brothers and rescue Professor Moorhead. With Moorhead safe, they begin making plans to infiltrate the Armando Power Company, and Bwana begins finding 3 different items for the team. First off, he needs a remote detonator for their plastic explosives, because what kind of terrorist group would we be without explosives? Second, he needs to get an Armando Power Company license plate, which he will kill a man for. And finally, he needs a supercharged battery. In order to get this battery, he beheads a bunny and gets a man tased. Bwana might be a sociopath. Now that everything has been gathered, they infiltrate the power company with another ambitious 3D cutscene, and we switch our control over to Lena, who is not having a very good time. She gets kidnapped by pirates and is threatened with... tea? Yeah, it turns out the guy in charge of watching her is actually pretty nice. In return, she blows up his furnace and steals some cement foodstuff to get a key so she can leave. Real quick question here. How does this guy not see Lila as she's exiting? She's right in his eyesight. Anyways, soon after this, she sends some pirate lady spiraling to her doom, and then ties up the old lady who runs the ship before stealing her prized possession. Did I mention Lila is one cold-hearted woman? She then tricks the nice man from earlier into unlocking an airplane for her, and she flies off to stop the Armando Power Company. Except she doesn't know how to fly a plane, so she crashes immediately. Due to some extremely lucky circumstances, she ends up being rescued from her plane crash by none other than Count Dodo, Bwana's dad. Don't ask me how she managed to crash near his home. That's very convenient. She proceeds to do some item gathering and stealing some crackers from a monkey.
How could this happen to me? I made my mistakes, got nowhere to run. The night goes on as I...
After that, she gets the weird horn thing she wanted. Alas, the Armando Power Company has started their drilling operation, meaning they need to hurry with whatever whack plan they've devised. From this point, we switch back to our beloved Bwana as he is infiltrating the main Armando building. Gabby, this girl, knocks out a guard. We need to activate this elevator. So Bwana does electrical magic that definitely would not work in real life. After this, they become actual terrorists and begin planting charges in order to blow the building. Then the leader of Armando shoots the town mayor and they summon an actual god. Is this moving a little fast to you? Luckily, Lena and Count Dodo summon their own god. Meanwhile, Gabby is unconscious and she is the one who knows the detonation sequence for the bombs. Bwana manages to wake her up, with a bit of shock therapy. Conveniently enough, it turns out the detonation sequence was actually the song that Wasi wasn't able to play before because he lost his groove. You know, this cassette tape. Yep, right there. This cassette tape is broken now though, so Bwana needs to find a new way to detonate the bombs. He grabs a guitar from the nearby extremely large truck, and Gabby tells Wasi to stop being a baby and play the song. Wasi takes that insult to heart a bit and proceeds to play the song while also knee-sliding down the building that is currently exploding. For extra manliness points, I assume. So now the Armando Power Company is blown up and everything is fixed. Except suddenly that snake god we heard about earlier wakes up, and just as suddenly that bird god we heard about earlier appears and takes him out. Yes, just like that. And that is the end of the third game. So just like last time, I'll take a minute to talk about this game. This one unfortunately is probably my least favorite of the trilogy. It had a lot of cool ideas, but to me they were just kind of glued together, and by the end of it I feel like I still don't really remember that many specifics about it. Like, I honestly can't even remember any of the set pieces being all that good, or any of the music sticking out to me. That being said, we'll still have our good old appreciation moment with what I can find. Who knows, maybe I'm just not remembering things clearly. Maybe I was just bitter when I played it. Anyway, still shots. Enjoy. Well, that's the entire trilogy, like I said at the start of the video. I really think these games are worth checking out, especially if you like puzzle games. I know I didn't seem to enjoy the third one as much, and I stand by it being the weakest in the series, but I'd still call it a good game that's worth playing. If I had to pick a favorite, I would probably choose the second game. To me, that game had the best setting and overall story. There are some complaints I have with that game too, mainly the content that clearly was missing, such as the butterfly house that Andiswa mentioned. The first game is probably the most well done of the trilogy, but I still prefer the second one for its music and set pieces. Anyways, I think that's about all I have to say about this lovely little experience. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to see more content such as this. Have a great one, lads.